Welcome to Unicorns Talk Podcast, your weekly girl talk about Black women, our healing, and manifestation. My name is Latrice Sampson Richards, your life enhancement coach, and together we're going to live, laugh, and learn to love all of life's little messes. While I am a licensed clinician, please keep in mind that this show is not a substitute for your own relationship with a mental health provider. Let's go. Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in to Unicorns Talk Podcast. My name is Latrice Sampson Richards. I am your life enhancement coach, and I'm super excited to be here with y'all today. As usual, I know it's been a few weeks since last you've heard from me, but listen, life has been crazy. Y'all know I was in Germany, and now I'm back in Florida, and I'm happy to be home with my husband, looking for me a job or whatever. But I did get a chance to do a little bit of traveling before I left Europe. I went to Amsterdam the weekend before I left to come back to the States. And I'm so happy that I got a chance to do that because Amsterdam was always like somewhere that I wanted to go. It's definitely one of my bucket list places. And so just the whole time I was there, I just kept saying, I'm in motherfucking Amsterdam right now. Like, cause I've always wanted to go to Amsterdam, but it always felt like one of those places that, you know, like not that I would never actually get a chance to go, but you dream about going and you don't actually think that you're going to actually ever get to go, you know? And it definitely lived up to all of my expectations. Amsterdam is beautiful, like absolutely beautiful. It's a super small place. Like it's not a big place at all. Like it didn't take us very long to figure out how to get from one place to another, but it has so much to offer. Like we did everything. I went with a friend of mine, and we did everything. We went on the light show, like they have the Festival of Lights, and we were able to do a tour of the Festival of Lights on a little water taxi kind of cruise thing, which was really cool. And I was expecting for the Festival of Lights to be, I don't know, kind of like a light show per se, like, you know, during the holiday time or whatever, when you go, like I'm from New Orleans, as y'all know. So like how City Park does the lights or whatever, the Christmas lights during the holidays and stuff. I was expecting something like that, but it wasn't. Like it was actual art installations that these artists, I was going to say famous artists, but I don't know if they're famous or not, you know, but these artists put together these works of art, you know, that incorporated light, and it was very, very interesting. It was way more than what I was expecting. I'm not gonna lie. So if you ever get a chance to go to Amsterdam, make sure you check that out. It was cold as shit. It was super cold out there, but you know, I guess that just kind of comes with the territory. I mean, it's Europe in the middle of fucking winter, so clearly it's going to be cold. What else did we do? We ate at some amazing restaurants. Oh, we almost got robbed. That happened, which was fucking insane. But you know what I'm saying? They thought that they was rolling up on some stupid little American women, some American girls or whatever, but they ain't know they was getting the Thriller and motherfucking Manila, bitch. We was ready to fight in that bitch. But we had our spidey senses on. So shout out to my friend Kia, because Kia really was like on it, you know what I'm saying? And she made me put my spidey senses on, and then we combined together and we was like, yeah, bitch, not today, you know what I'm saying? So everything worked out fine. We were okay. I feel like my body, we did a ridiculous amount of walking the whole time that we were there, and I feel like my body didn't even like process it all until I got back to the States. Because when I was out there, like, you know, walking and stuff and doing what I needed to do and just, you know, going from one place to another, enjoying myself and everything like that. And then when I got back, I had to start packing in order to come back home because I came back home the following weekend, which was last weekend. And so it wasn't really until I got back to the States and I could actually relax a little bit that my body, I think, realized, bitch, like how much actually had took place, you know? So I was very sore when I got back. But, you know, I was always happy to see my husband. husband and things like that. And so now I'm just looking for a gig stateside. I love doing this creative stuff. I love doing this podcast. I love doing my workshops and presentations and things like that. But, I need a 9 to 5 job until that shit really kicks off. You know what I'm saying? And so I need a 9 to 5 job. And right now, my 9 to 5 that I have, it requires entirely too much travel. And so I'm really just ready to kind of settle down. And so, I'm looking for something here in the Fort Lauderdale area, preferably in training. We'll see what happens. So if y'all know anybody or whatever, holla at your girl, in training or in mental health, holla at your girl. But I'm super happy to be back with y'all. Thank you so much for weathering the storm. Y'all still was listening and downloading and everything, even during the hiatus. And so I appreciate you all for that. Today, I have a very special guest with me. I'm super excited. I don't know if you all know this or not, but I also actually have a blog called the Black Unicorn Project. And the Black Unicorn Project is an online community center about Black people, Black culture, and Black well-being. And so I have a couple of people that actually write for me on the blog. And one of those people is one of my very best friends in the whole wide world, Trey Payadue. And so Trey is joining me today. Trey is my music curator over at the Black Unicorn Project. And listen, so growing up, Trey was always the person that we went to. Like if you needed anything related to music, Trey was the dude. If we used to have house parties, like it was nobody's business, you know what I'm saying? And Trey was always the music dude. But he not only loves music, but he's a what do you call it? A purveyor of music. Like he knows music. He knows stats. He loves all different genres and things like that. So I felt like Trey was the perfect person to come here today to have this conversation. Y'all know, while I was on hiatus, shit kind of blew up in the R&B world, specifically as it relates to R. Kelly. And so I wanted to bring him here to have a conversation with him about R. Kelly and the Surviving R. Kelly series, just to get his thoughts, because I feel like he is the perfect person to have this conversation with. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Trey.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. So like I said, Trey is the curator of music for the Black Unicorn Project. Y'all need to make sure y'all check him out, but he's going to give y'all a little bit more information about that later on in the show. But I wanted to have you on today, Trey, to talk about the Surviving R. Kelly series. We kind of started having this conversation already offline, and that's what I was gonna say that's what made me want to have this conversation with you. But so we have a mutual friend, Dalton. Y'all have met Dalton before, if you remember. Dalton was on the episode, was that earlier this season? I think it was.
Yeah, it was
What?
in
Yeah.
May, I think.
Yes, in May. Y'all know my boo thing, Dalton. Hey, Dalton. He was like, y'all make sure y'all give me my shout out. So shout out to Dalton. Hey, boo. And Dalton, we were all three on video chat, and we started talking about the R. Kelly thing, and we were having a really good conversation. And Dalton said, "Well, y'all need to record this for the podcast." And I was like, "You know what, nigga, you're right." So that's how this came about. But I'm really happy to be having this conversation with you today. Did you finish it? Because I know at the time when we were talking, you had not quite finished the docuseries yet. So were you able to finish it?
I was able to finish it. Actually, the next day, I think I finally watched the last two episodes. So I watched the entire thing.
Okay, so I didn't even know that this documentary series was a thing, because in Europe, I didn't really have a lot of access to US television, and not for nothing, but I don't really watch TV like talking about. And so I didn't even know that this docuseries was even a thing. When we were in Amsterdam, my friend Kia, who I went to Amsterdam with, she was like, girl, my Facebook is blowing up with this R. Kelly thing. And I was like, girl, what R. Kelly thing? What's going on? And so we ended up watching while we were on the train going back to Germany. We watched like the first four episodes of the docuseries because they had all already aired, but we were able to find them and we watched the first four. And we were sitting on that train like, what the fuck? Like that, I mean, that whole thing was, it was traumatizing, you know, even
Right.
just to watch it, it was traumatizing. I mean, thank God I've never been in a situation where I've experienced any type of domestic violence or anything of that nature in any relationship. I can actually, honestly, I can count on one hand, like less than one hand, how many times my daddy has whipped me. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I know at least one of them times I deserve that ass whipping. You know what I'm saying? So like I feel like I don't even really count that, you know, but I thankfully have never been in an abusive relationship or an abusive situation, but just listening to those stories of the women who came forth, I mean, it was literally like a half dozen women, if not more, you know, like
Right.
listening to the stories of those women, I was just like, what in the entire fuck, like I was triggered just watching it and seeing the raw emotion that was coming out of most of those women. Because I'm not gonna lie, one of them chicks, I don't even remember her name, but one of them, I felt like she was a little opportunistic. I'm not gonna lie, not that she wasn't speaking her truth, but I just felt like her tone was different than the other ladies. You know what I'm saying? Like, she. I don't know, just something about her in particular did not set right with me. But the rest of the ladies, I definitely was like, I could tell that they were coming from a real genuine place, you know. What was your take on it? Like as you were watching it, and like listening to their stories and taking it in, how did you feel about just that experience of it?
Well, first of all, I think the experience of it was very traumatic. Just watching just some of the stories themselves, um, it was very triggering. It's traumatic because you can't help but put yourself in that situation or kind of
Yeah,
identify with what some of the women in the documentary was going through at the time.
right.
Um, but I mean, obviously, like everybody else, Twitter blew up, Instagram blew up. So there is like a ton of reaction that's going on. And right now we're dealing with the aftermath of the series.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk a little bit about some of the aftermath of everything that has taken place. You know, I was doing some research for our conversation today, and I read that last week RCA Sony Records actually dropped R. Kelly. You know, finally dropped R. Kelly from the label, and so he, you know, for the first time, is really suffering some real life consequences as a result of the allegations of his behaviors. And so I guess my question is, what does that say about the likelihood of him actually being brought to justice this time? Because this is not the first time that we have been made aware that R. Kelly is doing some ratchet shit out here and that he is a predator, like a real life abuser and predator. And so this is not necessarily new information, maybe new details, but not necessarily new information. But for some reason, this time, for the first time in 20 plus years, we're actually starting to see celebrities come out against him. I was surprised to see John. Well, I was surprised, but not surprised at the same time to see John Legend in the documentary, you
Right.
know, and he said time's up for R. Kelly, you know. So the fact that, you know, RCA Sony Records has dropped him from the label, we have, you know, prominent figures in our culture, in the community, that are coming out against R. Kelly and that are actually speaking up. What does that say about the likelihood of him actually being brought to justice?
I think that this definitely does damage him, but there are two kinds of justice, right? So he went through the trial in 2001, 2002, whenever that happened, and there's legal justice, and then there's like kind of like the court of public opinion.
Right,
So
right.
I think right now what's damaging for him is like this documentary was a little bit of a catalyst for basically him being judged on the court of public opinion. Right now, I think people see him differently. I think there's a different reaction now because of the world has changed from what it was 10 years ago. So the Time's Up, the Me Too movement has actually changed the environment. So right now we are in an environment where predators like him can be prosecuted. They can be investigated. People are being taken more seriously, or women are being taken more seriously. So I think there are definitely some consequences for him. As far as him being dropped by Sony, the honest reality about that is at this point in his career, um, the music has been made. So as long as his
Yeah.
music is getting played, as long as somebody's playing it, he's going to be getting royalties from it.
Right, but
Now,
he's not the same cash cow that he was,
exactly.
like at one point in his career. So, I mean, I think what I hear you saying is like it comes down to dollars and cents at this point. Like
Right.
he's not the same cash cow, and so they don't have as much interest in terms of protecting their investment.
Exactly. Exactly. So like right now, it's convenient for them because he's not exactly raking in the dough right now. So the question is, and this is a whole nother question, but 10 years ago when this happened, why didn't his record label react at this time?
Hmm.
Also, the music industry has changed. You don't necessarily need a record label to actually make money and be successful. One example, another gentleman who was in the documentary, Chance the Rapper. He is an independent artist. He has made tons of money um, building himself as an independent artist. So R. Kelly, who already has a following, and sidebar, he still has a following,
Yes, he does.
so there is still money to be made for him. He doesn't necessarily have to have a label. I think this was for Sony RCA to be able to, I guess, save face in this moment in the era of Me Too.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Like you said, he definitely has a following. Like, in fact, according to Billboard, Ignition and I Believe I Can Fly actually made a return to the Billboard charts last week. I think Ignition came back at number 12, and I Believe I Can Fly came back at number 16, which honestly doesn't surprise me because whether it's positive or negative, like they say, all publicity is good publicity. And so, those were the two main songs, like those are the biggest songs of his career. And those were the two main songs that were played over and over, even in the documentary. And like when people were like, I think Trevor Noah did a little piece on it or whatever. And he was saying how when the news reporters were reporting about the documentary, they reported it by playing Ignition and
Exactly.
I Believe I Can Fly. So it just kind of reminds people, because listen, nobody has ever questioned the fact that R. Kelly is a musical genius, like just point blank. Period. The man is extremely talented.
Right. He is.
And like even in the documentary, they talked about how he taught himself music. He taught himself how to be a better singer and things like that. Like he really practiced his craft and really honed his craft. And it shows R. Kelly is a musical genius. And I don't think anybody can take that away from him. But the fact that he used his talents and his skill sets to lure people in to do harm is
Right.
a problem. Like I tell people all the time, I'm a Leo. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Leo, but I use my powers for good. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, I use my powers for good. And the fact that he knows and understands the power that he has by virtue of his gifts and his talents, and that he chooses to use that for the detriment of others, that is a major issue for me. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
I
Yeah.
was I was going to ask you, which you kind of touched on already, but like, why now? Why is it that we are ready for this now? Because like I said before, this is not new information. Like, we've been knowing when he married Aaliyah. we knew when he, way back in the day when he had the sex tape got leaked with the little girl, the 14-year-old girl. Like, why is it now that we are so interested in bringing him to justice?
I think right now, like I said, we're in the era of the Me Too movement. The other thing that is different from 10 years ago or even 20 years ago when we heard or found out about the Aaliyah thing, social media makes a difference because
Yeah.
now information is more accessible. There are lots of people who don't watch TV. In the early 2000s when the trials were happening, if you were going about your daily life, you weren't worried about what R. Kelly was doing. But now it's so accessible to everybody. Like we talked about, we saw Instagram, Facebook, everybody blew up about this documentary. So the information got to more people. And I think right now, because we're in an environment, a sensitive environment where we're reacting to a lot of things over the past couple of years. We're in the age of Trump right now, where everything is a sensitive topic. So now there is an opportunity, for us to really look and say, okay, what do we want to accept in our culture? What do we want to accept in the music business? What do we want to accept, in our daily lives? What do we want to consume? And I think right now, just because of the environment that we're in, I do think that it'll be taken more seriously. You also mentioned the some of his songs being played, right? So I think there's a couple of things that's going on there as well. I think for the first time, there are a lot of kids who don't know who R. Kelly is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think a lot of people they saw this documentary. Some of them are just actually discovering R. Kelly for the first time, and so I think what's happening also is there are a lot of people who are interested in trying to figure out who this guy is. Also, a part of the documentary that was touched on is that the music that he made often mirrored what was going on, you know, in his
In his
you know,
life. Yeah.
in
So
his
some people
life.
were kind of going back and listening. Like, I agree with that because when they was talking about Aaliyah and the Age Ain't Nothing But a Number song, that
Right.
fucked me up. I'm not even gonna lie because I think when did that song come out? What year
I
was that?
That was probably like 1994, 93, 94, something like that.
Okay, so yeah, so I was like, oh Lord Jesus, I was like in sixth grade, fifth or sixth grade,
Singing
you
singing
know,
this song.
like singing this song, age ain't nothing but a number, and having no real understanding. And to be honest, I didn't even understand it thoroughly until I saw it in the documentary when they laid it
Right.
out in the documentary, and like that this was a 15-year-old child
Right,
trying to
exactly.
convince a grown man to take advantage of her. You know what I'm saying? Like she's convincing him to take advantage of her. And then that made me think back to like my friends and shit like that during the time. And I was a late bloomer, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so but I had all of my friends, they were already out there doing things and stuff like that. And so like they would be sitting around the table talking and stuff like that, and I'm just remembering those conversations, listening to those conversations and how those conversations were mirroring what was being displayed in Aaliyah's music. Like age ain't nothing but a number, dating older guys and being with these older men. And it really created a culture where younger girls felt like it was our right to be able to, sleep with a man that was twice as old as we were, or a man that should know better than to fuck with a 15-year-old. You know what I'm saying? So
Right, exactly.
like
Yeah.
when like I didn't even it didn't even register to me until they laid it out in that documentary, which was crazy. I also wanted to add, I think another reason like why now is the time and why now things are being taken more seriously is because Black women have more of a voice today than we did at one point in time. Even
I agree.
within the Me Too movement, there was a big thing last year where the founder of the Me Too movement, she wasn't getting no credit for, like, they were
Exactly.
whitewashing the Me Too movement. When in
Right.
reality,
Tarana Burke.
Tarana
Hmm.
Burke, yes, it was founded by a Black woman, and she was getting no credit for having founded this massive movement. And so I think now in 2018, we're really kind of beginning in 2017, but Black women are demanding to have a voice. And we are, finally in a place where we have people like Ava DuVernay, and we have people like Shonda Rhimes and Lena Waithe, and all of these Black women who are creating art, Issa Rae, and all of these Black women who are creating art that is giving us a voice, that's making it more I don't want to say acceptable, but they are forcing people to hear what we have to say. Not only
Exactly.
that, but Black women are trending right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's
Right.
just be
Yeah.
real. Like in pop culture, Facebook is so fucking intrusive with all of their ads and shit like that. But I was watching a video on Facebook, and one of those ads popped up in the middle of the fucking video, which I hate, by the way. But it was an ad for Diane von Furstenberg, who is, a fashion designer, one of the top fashion designers.
Uh-huh.
And her new line is like a Back to Africa line. And like
Uh-huh.
it's not called Back to Africa, but bitch, it's Back to Africa. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and she got these white girls in these, pseudo African prints that's, African inspired prints and things like that, and colors and all of that. And the music is like African drums beating in the background and shit like that. But like blackness and blackness has always been, sought after, but nowadays, Black women are trending right now. We people are taking notice of the buying power of Black women. People are taking notice of, the power and the financial strength that Black women offer in the world right now. And so I think all of that is kind of combining to create the perfect storm, and creates a moment where there is a higher likelihood of R. Kelly being brought to justice,
Right.
and I'm happy to see that. I'm not gonna lie, I'm happy to see that. Um,
Yeah.
so why is it, in your opinion, why is it that the culture is so reluctant to let go of R. Kelly and his music? Like, why does he still have such a strong following? Why is it so, and has it been so difficult for us as a culture, as a community, to let him go?
I think as a Black culture, there's a few things that are going on here. I think, honestly, there's a lot of things that we probably don't have time to talk about. But I think the thing that really strikes me is that in the Black community, we have this thing where no matter how bad you are, culturally, we've always tried to protect the Black man,
Yeah,
even though the Black man is wrong.
yeah.
We try culturally, we've always tried to protect our own. And I think that's what happened with R. Kelly for so long, even though that it was at the detriment of Black girls. you know we value the Black man, and we have to protect the Black man, quote unquote, from white society, basically.
Right.
So I think that there's a part of that. I think there are other issues as well. I think for a lot of people right now, people are in denial because R. Kelly, for some people have been a part of their lives. Like for some people, they remember, like, all of R. Kelly songs through the '90s, through the 2000s. It's a part of their lives. So it's like, you can't help when Ignition comes on. Like, if it comes on, if you hear it playing, I don't personally play it, but if I go into a store and it's playing, you can't help but think to yourself for a second, like, oh, I'm gonna miss that song. like,
Listen, every time I remember exactly where I was and what I was doing the first time I heard Ignition. It's crazy. I remember I was in college, and I was at a Omega party, a Q party.
uh-huh.
And the bros actually had like a nice formal party or whatever. So everybody was all dressed up, and the chick that was my roommate at the time, she was doing the fucking most in the club, you know what I'm saying, with
Yeah.
some random ass dude that I think actually ended up being one of her baby daddies. And so, okay, no shade, no tea, bitch, no shade, no tea. So so I remember it was dark in the club, and the song came on, and I was like, what the fuck is this song? And I was just looking around, and they had like spotlights kind of roaming around or whatever. Like, it was, they were setting the mood. It was a party, bitch. It was going off. And so
Right.
it was an all black party. And I remember the light flashed, and I just so happened to be, I didn't know where she was, but I just so happened to see her in the flash of the light. And when I tell you, this dude hand was up her dress, all the way up her dress. I will never forget that moment. And this is the song that was on. And it was the first time I ever heard this song. And I was just so shocked. Like, I could not believe that, bitch. Like, you're in the club. What are you doing right
Right.
now? So I told you I'm a late bloomer, you know what I'm saying? So that shocked me. And so that moment has forever been etched in my mind. Like, I can never forget that moment. And that was the first time I ever heard this. I ever heard Ignition,
Right.
And so I understand what you're saying. Like, people have, R. Kelly has been woven into the fabric of our lives. He's given us songs for when we're feeling down. He's given us songs for when we're feeling up. He's given us songs for when we're celebrating. He's given us songs for when we're mourning. He's given us songs for when we need inspiration. Like, he has integrated himself into every single aspect of our lives, and it's
Right.
difficult for people to let go of that, because letting go of the music for a lot of us feels like letting go of the moment. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
Exactly.
it doesn't have to be that way. You
It
can
does not.
you can choose to no longer support the man while also still remembering the work that he did. Like, I mean, I feel the same way about Bill Cosby. And people say what the fuck they want to say, but Bill Cosby, the man, is not. I don't think is necessarily connected to the Cosby Show and the work that he did on the Cosby Show, giving us the image of a positive Black family and a positive Black role model. It doesn't completely negate the work that he has given us, but that doesn't
Right.
mean that I'm gonna go out there and pay $50 to go see Bill Cosby do a show. I'm not about
Exactly.
to buy a box set of the Cosby Show. I'm not about to go out there and buy no R. Kelly tickets. I'm not going to no R. Kelly concert. I'm not downloading no R. Kelly music or nothing like that. But that doesn't mean that the work that he gave us no longer has meaning for us in our individual lives. Like, we can separate those things and still not support that man. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But also, I think after the trials, I think another reason why we're so reluctant, quote unquote, as a culture, is after the trial, we went through this thing where when he was found not guilty, right?
Right.
I think for a lot of people, and you have to remember, we, for the most part, we didn't hear about the details of the trial. Like, all of that stuff wasn't laid out. All
Yeah.
we heard was, okay, R. Kelly was found not guilty. The man did not get him. So we're going to keep rocking with him.
Yeah.
Even though, to a degree, we knew something was fishy, because we knew something was fishy after Aaliyah. We knew something was fishy after, the sex tape leaked and all of this stuff. We knew something was fishy, but then he was found not guilty. So I think for us as a culture, I think we kind of rationalized, like, and
Yeah.
kind of said, well, hey, he was found not guilty, so he must not have did it. So we're going to keep rocking with it. So I think that's another reason why we were reluctant. I think the non-guilty verdict back then also helped us to kind of like, okay, rationalize it, put it to the side, not really think about
Yeah, even one of the parents that the little girl Azriel, her parents was talking about like what even made them consider allowing their child to be involved with R. Kelly in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And that's exactly what the mother said. Like he was found not guilty. He was acquitted of all charges. And so in our minds, okay, so that's done with. You know what I'm saying? Even though like they
Right.
still felt like they needed to monitor her interactions with him, like in their minds, he was found not guilty. So is not like it's not a issue, but it's not as big a issue as maybe
Right.
we once thought it was. So
Yeah, I mean,
go
yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
I think to a degree, like as a culture, as a black culture, I think sometimes we almost feel like so many black men and women are oftentimes accused or charged of a crime. So just by
Yeah.
reaction, the fact of being charged for a crime doesn't necessarily in our minds mean that you're guilty,
Yeah.
because it happens so often in our daily lives. Like I probably got 5 cousins right now who have been accused of something, pulled over, or something has happened. So the charge itself to me didn't, I think, ring bells for people as much as it would now, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I agree with that. So my last question is what's next? What do you think is how does this play out for R. Kelly and for his music moving forward? How do you think this ends?
Um, to be honest with you, I'm not sure how it's going to end. I do think though that we're at a point where it is different for us right now. So I think as far as R. Kelly and his music, while he will still have a following, I think that this documentary has been a catalyst, and it has definitely done damage to his legacy and to his career. Obviously, I think for the most part, everybody that I've had a conversation with about this, or who has talked about this, um, for the most part, people are ready to say, okay, I'm done with R. Kelly. I hate when people say this, but R. Kelly is canceled. But for a lot of people, R. Kelly is canceled. So I think that, I think that it's different. For R. Kelly, whatever happens is going to happen. We don't know if there's something that can be charged, but like I said, he's being charged. He's being charged in the court of public opinion right now, and I think the verdict is in right now that we're moving on. I do question though, like for us as a culture, like what happens to us now? Because we have to really question. There's this big conversation going on in the black community that what do we accept? Like what do we accept from artists, not just R. Kelly, but other artists that are out here today? Like, honestly, when I turn on, and music videos aren't played as much, but when I turn on the music video and I still see women being objectified, I think to myself, we still doing this in 2018, well, 2019 now. Like, we still doing this. Like, there's still a woman that's, we still got the guy singing about the woman in the strip club, this, that, or the other. And nothing against strippers or sex workers or anything like that, because that's a whole other conversation, and they do what they have to do, and women have a choice to do that. But
Right.
I think as artists, like, are we going to continue to allow them to um, objectify women in that way? I think some of the songs that we hear now are more graphic as ever. And don't get me wrong, I think sometimes there's a need for a shit. There's a need for um graphic music, graphic lyrics in music. But I think we have to think about what do we accept from the artists as far as what they are saying, particularly about black women. I think for so long, in the music business and in music culture, in black women have been at the back seat.
Yeah.
And I think we really have to like come to grips. I think a part of this conversation is we have to come to grips with what has happened to our black women um, right now. What do we do to fix this and put black women at the forefront? Um, and so like really think about like how do we view women and how do these songs affect the culture?
Yeah, I agree. I think there has to be some level of accountability, and I've been saying this for years. Like, yes, our artists do need to be able to have freedom of creativity and expression. Creating music, creating of any kind, you have to be able to put a piece of yourself into it. Yeah, I mean, listen, with the podcast, I share my experiences all the time when I do my live streams. Like, my whole everything is based on what my experience has been. And so these artists, they definitely need to have the room and the space to be able to put their experience into their art. But I think that there does need to be a certain level of accountability, that as the artist grows, they make sure that they also infuse that into their work, and that there is more of an effort made to change the viewpoint, or to change the way that Black women and our bodies are seen, in the Black community. And, not only that, but I think, specifically as it relates to R. Kelly, honestly, I think R. Kelly is a fucking coward. I think that,
Right.
R. Kelly, because he's hiding behind litigation and shit like that, like, and he has been for years. And we didn't even talk about this. That's a whole, Lord, that's
Right.
a whole other conversation. But all of the motherfuckers that's around him, that
Exactly.
allow him to be able to perpetuate these shits, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
fuck all them, you know what I'm saying? Like, fuck every single one of them, because they all some trash. But,
Right.
I think that is where we need to hold ourselves accountable, not just the men who perpetuate these things, or women, men and women, who perpetuate these crimes and victimize, Black women and Black bodies, but the people who allow it to happen. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The people who support them as they do this shit, I think they need to be held accountable as well. The people, the grandmothers who, feel guilty because of the life that they had, and because they allowed their child to get hurt, and so their child can't do nothing wrong. You know what I'm saying? The
Right.
mothers who feel bad because they don't have no father in the household, and so they inadvertently reinforce all of the negative behaviors. They don't punish my child, not my child, not my child. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Coming to the defense of their child, even when their child is wrong, and the child never has to suffer consequences. Like, we all need to be held accountable for our actions, and for allowing this type of behavior to take place on a regular and consistent basis. But as it relates to R. Kelly is a piece of shit, and he's a coward. And to be honest, I definitely think this is the beginning of the end for him, because they're not gonna let this shit go. Like,
Right.
there is an entire organization that has been
Exactly.
created for the sole specific purpose of muting R. Kelly, and they are not going to quit. You know what I'm saying? So I think
Right.
this is the beginning of the end for R. Kelly. We're going to see this. I think it's going to take several years. I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to be honest, because he's been doing this for so long. He's savvy. You know what I'm saying? He's not,
Right.
he ain't just getting started in the game. He's been doing this for so long. And so he knows all the loopholes. And we saw in the documentary, he had those girls create tapes and recordings and stuff saying that they're here of their own volition and shit like that. So he's been preparing for the takedown. So
Right.
he's not going to
Exactly.
go down easy. But I do believe that there is going to come a point in time when he's going to realize that his days are numbered, that he is being taken down. And honestly, I don't think he's going to be man enough to face those charges and to face that day. And I see this ending in a very tragic way. And hopefully he only takes his own, takes it out on himself and doesn't feel like he needs to take other people with him. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I get
But
it.
but he's a fucking coward, and I believe he's gonna act cowardly. And so that's that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's,
Yeah. Right.
yeah, that's that. So thank you so much for having this conversation with me. I definitely want you to stick around for high five. You gonna do a
No
high
problem.
five? Yes.
Yeah, I got a high five for you.
Okay. All right. So coming up next is high five. All right. So today, Trey, since you are my guest, I'm going to allow you to do the high five for today. I'm really excited. You're the first guest on my show to actually do a high five. So,
Yay.
I know, like spirit fingers for real. So, high five to you for that. You know what I'm saying? But what's your high five for today? Who's your high five?
My high five is Marseille Martin. So, for those of you who have not heard, Marseille
Yeah.
Martin is the little girl from Blackish. She's been in other projects as well, but we know her from Blackish, right? So, she is the youngest executive producer ever, ever. Okay,
Ever.
this little black girl, ever. Okay,
Yes.
not the youngest black girl, not the youngest female, but the youngest person
Yes, the
ever.
youngest
So
human being.
youngest human being ever to do it. And then first of all, like when I saw the trailer for Little, like I think I literally fell out my chair because
Like
I just was
it's
like,
good. I think it's gonna
it.
be really good.
I think it's going to be real good, and I hope that people support this the way they supported Black Panther. I think we need to support this and send a message that we need to see more of this, more of Black women, more of Black girls, more of Black people in the movie industry, being on camera and behind the camera as well. So that's my high five.
Yeah, I support that. I'm in full support. So we're gonna actually give Marseille a high 10, one for each hand. You know what I'm saying?
I gotcha. Yes.
Yes, I cannot wait to see that movie. It's gonna be really good. Issa Rae. I mean, listen, what you can't fucking go wrong with Issa
Right.
Rae. You know, Regina
Right.
Hall. Like, come on. You know, like
Yes.
it's. I think it's gonna be real. Oh, and that fine ass white boy from This Is Us. I don't know his name.
We don't
I
know
don't
his
know his
name,
name, but he real,
he in there.
he in there. He in there, you
He
know?
in there.
So yeah, definitely high five to Marseille Martin. And thank you so much for being on the show today, Trey. I'm
No
so
problem. Thank you for having me.
of course. Why don't you go ahead and let the people know how they can get in touch with you, where they can find out more information about you, and where they can read your shit.
Okay, well, first of all, you can find me on Instagram. Twitter should be the same name. My Instagram name is Something Severe. It's SUMTHINSEVERE. You can follow me there. And also, you can read my blog post on the blackunicornproject.com. So feel free to look through all of the past posts that we've had and go through those and give me a shout out.
All right, sounds like a plan. Trey also does curated music lists on Spotify. Tell them a little bit about that.
So on Spotify, every month I do a playlist, and it is in connection with the Black Unicorn Project. So you can get access to all my playlists on that website. And you can go there, and there's always a link there to my playlist. You can follow me on Spotify as well. And under Spotify, it should be the same name, but you can search Trey Payadue, and you can follow me on Spotify as well and get access to all my playlists.
Yes, and his playlists go hard. Let me tell you, he did a Christmas playlist, and one of my friends texted me, and she was like, "This playlist, though, bitch, it was like off the chain." So Trey is awesome and amazing. Y'all make sure y'all check him out. Check out the blackunicornproject.com. We have all types of articles on there. It's really about Black culture and well-being, you know. So check it out if you're interested in writing for the Black Unicorn Project, or you want to submit an article or a piece that you've done. It has to be an original piece. Then just email at support at theblackunicornproject.com, and we're gonna holler at you or whatever. You know what I'm saying? What else? Make sure y'all join my Facebook group, Trust Village, a safe space for healing and manifestation. I'm coming off of vacation, y'all, this week, officially coming off of vacation. So I'll be getting back to doing my live streams and things like that. And so next week, on Monday, will be the return of Unicorns Talk Back. So y'all make sure y'all check that out on IG Live, on the Unicorns Talk Instagram page at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure y'all check that out. What else I got going on? Tuesdays, Inside of Trust Village is live stream Tuesday. So that's going to definitely happen. Um, what else? What else? What else? I think that's all I got for right now. I love y'all and I appreciate y'all. And until next time, be well. Bye, y'all.